All right, what is up, everyone? Welcome, KitsuneKon 24. We're here with Brian Mathis. Appreciate you taking a couple minutes out of your day to give us a little bit of a couple answers and Q&As and all that fun stuff.
Happy to, yeah.
How's the we're on day 2 when we're recording this? How's the con been treating you so far?
Fantastic. It's been
awesome.
great. Cool fans. I mean, interesting fan stories. I've had all ages.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's been great. Green Bay's been awesome.
it's awesome. Have you been to I'm guessing Wisconsin? Have you been to Green Bay before? Wisconsin before?
I've
or-
absolutely been to Wisconsin many times, but this is the first time I've ever been to Green Bay.
Okay.
And this is the first time I've ever been to Wisconsin in the summertime, so I'm loving it.
Okay, yeah, the weather's, you're at like a good part now where you're not getting the
Yeah.
4 feet of snow and everything else
Yeah,
that we're going to have in a relatively short period of time,
Right.
which I will always love so much. But for people who are trying to like kind of catching on, you've done work with like Black Clover, One Piece, Ancient Magus Bride,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of other stuff, and then very curiously, a episode of Walker Texas Ranger.
Yeah, way back
which,
in the 90s.
Yeah, which I feel like there's got to be a story there because that was a, I don't know how you say it. It's a unique show, I guess. If no one's ever seen it, it's definitely different. So we'll kind of jump into it. So like, was anime kind of like where you wanted, or were you trying to do more of like the live TV stuff like Walker?
To be honest, I'm just trying. I'm an actor just trying to work.
Right.
And so I had done stage work for years and done a little bit of TV and stuff, and then I had met some actors in the Fort Worth, Dallas area that had said, "Hey, you need to submit your voice demo to Funimation at the time, and now it's called Crunchyroll."
Right.
And so I did, and I started getting submissions for auditions to come in and audition for stuff, and I started, booking things, and it's just kind of a natural progression from all the other kind of acting that I've done.
Yeah. If you see, looking back, obviously, we listed off a couple of things that you've done. Is it interesting to kind of see the progression of you record some lines, and anime, it's like you never know what anime will take off, what won't. But obviously, like recording One Piece, obviously in Japan it's huge, but it's coming over to America, new audience, new genre, new kind of people. Did you expect this kind of reaction for like Garp and recording like those way back then? You look back now, and you're like,
no, because things just started escalating in the last couple of years, or maybe in the last year with One Piece. I mean, there was always a following for One Piece,
right?
But now it's just exploded. I just saw a stat on IMDb that said that One Piece was the #1 show.
Yeah. Most between like live action and anime, it's the most watched show in the world,
which is crazy.
As of right now.
Thank you. It's just awesome. Yeah. So go back to the question that you asked me.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
just
it was-
like if you obviously you go back, you're recording lines for Garp, and it's a new anime.
Oh,
Looking back
yeah.
now, how do you what is it kind of this like that meant of seeing this like just the character kind of stand that test of like people's. I mean, obviously like he shows up and he's in the live action, but people bring back to like just that character.
Right. Honestly, when I first went in and recorded Garp, I did not know that it was going to be a reoccurring character, and I went into the session and made some character choices, and they had told me, he's this old crusty guy, and he's like this, and he's Luffy's grandpa, but we haven't revealed that yet, and blah blah blah, and
Right.
giving me all this information, and so I just kind of made a choice with him, not knowing that he was going to keep coming back,
Right.
and that sort of thing. So
Yeah. And then obviously, like I mentioned, you've done work on Fire Force as well, which is coming up on its last season,
Yeah.
which is going to be really cool. And then you've done work. We said Ancient Magus Bride, and you shared us a story earlier. Have you been like I don't know like how much you go back and watch the scenes that you're in or anything like that, but because obviously those animes are like quite different. So do you enjoy certain characters that you've been able to do? Like, is there certain voices you kind of like? Man, I love doing that voice. Like, I hope I can do that again. Or is it kind of like an all-encompassing? Like, they're just all really fun to do.
yeah, it's hard. Nothing really jumps out at me of that I would really love to revisit. Although I really enjoy doing Elias. I call him my living room voice. I really enjoy doing him. It's funny because I feel like he's more real, even though he's a fantasy.
Right.
You know, and I feel like Garp is more of a character or a caricature almost than a real person. There's been lots of characters. I wish I could put my finger on,
I know sometimes it's kind of hard because when you start to list off like all the things you've done, it's like, where do you kind of find that, like, I did this, I did that, I did that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes what I always like interesting is like, have you ever been at a convention, whether it's right now or in the past, where someone brings you something to sign, whether it's a figure or a poster, and you like had forgotten that you were in that anime, and like them bring you're like, oh my god, that's right, I did do that.
I think actually the response is, I can't believe they've got product for this. That's what's amazing to me. Or occasionally when a fan will come up and go, well, I've heard you in this and this and this, but I wanted to ask you about this, and they bring up a show that nobody ever brings up, and that's really amazing to me.
Right. Is there one in particular they go towards when it comes to stuff like that, or is it kind of just?
It's very random. I had a guy today. He had told me how much he enjoyed One Piece and some other things that I had done. And he said, but I really enjoyed your work in Darling in the Franxx. And I went, wow, nobody ever tells me that. I never hear that,
right.
Because it's such an obscure show. And I've also noticed that in the regions and different places, different characters are more popular. A few weeks ago, I was in Chicago at Anime Midwest, and I must have had 25 or 30 guys mention how much they liked Dopo Orochi in Baki.
Yeah.
Which is a character that I did for High Dive, which is not to be confused with the Netflix version.
Yes.
But I was kept asking me for signatures of Baki or Dopo, and I'm like, I don't have any artwork for him, and I haven't had anybody ask me really about Dopo this week. So it's so interesting that like Chicago had their thing, and let's see, what else have I had? There's some other obscure ones out there. Some that it's so hard to bring everything up. And recall stuff like there's been interesting storylines.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I did a show called Salaryman's Club. It's about a badminton team, and I was the coach on that.
Yeah.
Yes, a badminton team.
Yeah, I think it was what was it? It was like a ping pong.
There was a ping pong one, yes.
I remember watching that not even that long ago, which I know sounds crazy because it's an older anime, but we just happened to like come across it and watch it.
There's one I did. I was a coach of a swim team.
Okay, yeah.
And I can't remember the name of that. I've played a lot of coaches.
Yeah,
so.
And it is funny you bring up Dopo because I know I've mentioned to friends of mine, but like Baki is such a good because like I love I did MMA for 7 years, so like I love that kind of like those martial arts kind of shows. I mean, obviously they it's tuned up to 11, but like it's such a good anime, and Dopo's such a great character of like that. Like like all right, well, I could kick your butt if I really wanted to, but like I got other stuff on my mind, so I'm not gonna worry about it. And then like you said, you go to like Garp where it's like that character, but still that kind of like salty, like salt of the earth kind of character. I was gonna imagine, like, is it fun to play those kind of characters? Because they're similar in kind of that sense where it's that like salt of the earth kind of character.
There's the occasion where they actually say something kind of human, what is the one quote that Garp says to Luffy, I didn't do this to try to kill you, I did it to make you a better man, or something like that.
Oh, yeah, when he's like trying to stop it.
It's like, wow, he actually cares about it,
there's a bunch of stuff with Garp. There's that one, and then there's like when the whole stuff happens with like him and Ace later on, he says like, hey, if you don't stop me, I'm gonna kill the Admiral and stuff. Like you said, there's those moments of the characters where because maybe they act this way, but they have lines and the dialogue that kind of bring that like more human element to it. Now, like obviously, like something else I'm just kind of curious about. Now, obviously, you started off, like you said, kind of like the '90s, and you're doing stuff now. Is it been interesting to see kind of like that transition from like the earlier days of anime, where maybe it's it's not as popular, stuff's kind of still building up to. You fast forward to today, everything's digital, and there's obviously entire conventions and fandoms built around not only just the animes, but like the characters themselves. Like, what has that been like for you as an actor to kind of see that kind of from like behind the scenes?
Yeah, it's it's really cool. I mean, I had been doing voiceover most of my adult life, but I hadn't done any anime until I started doing anime until about 2007. So, anime at that time it was still this kind of subgenre,
right?
And I never really heard about conventions, and then things started happening. I started doing more stuff, and I just started noticing that more and more people were watching anime, and you started seeing ads for these conventions and all this kind of thing, and it just got bigger and bigger. And then some of my voice actor friends started going to these conventions and this kind of thing. I was like, oh, I want to do that, and blah, blah, blah. And and then now with the streaming, because it was, I maybe it's just me, but it seems like it just exploded during the pandemic.
I think you're right, because it's not only was everyone like trapped at home, but then like Netflix probably during the pandemic, like they had some anime on there, but it was never like a core concept for them.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they went crazy with it. Hulu made their own section for it.
Right.
Disney started putting on like animes from like Disney Plus, from like the old '90s stuff. Mm-hmm. And like you said, like everyone started to actually create their own anime sections on the website, on their websites, and it just, like you said, it exploded.
Yeah. That was my experience as well.
Yeah, which is great when you're an anime fan. You're like, see, I knew it would take off. I wasn't wasting all my time. There was
all that time I lived in the basement. Now I can move up to the living room.
I have finally achieved. Obviously, like you're probably going to like other conventions that people like. You're kind of probably constantly traveling and going to different stuff. And I know future works can never be talked about because obviously they want to make sure everything stays hush hush until it's the big release. But are there places people can go to like follow stuff that you're doing, or?
Yeah, my social media. I mean, I try to post on there. I don't have any cons booked for a while. After this is like my last one for a while. I might have one in November. Mm-hmm. But I'm always posting stuff that I'm doing, either theater-wise or TV or anime or convention-wise, on my Instagram.
Okay.
And I have a Facebook like page, not my Facebook, but my Facebook like page. Occasionally, I will get friend requests on my Facebook. I cannot do that. That's why I have a like page. I also have a Twitter or an X. I still can't call it X.
It just feels weird.
It'd be like saying we're now going to call Coca-Cola Flower Pot. No, that's not. It's not going to work. We've called it this for this long. We can't call it anything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm on all of those platforms, and you can follow me there, and I try to keep things updated.
Awesome. And then one thing I always like to ask is not just for like this kind of specific, but obviously like people that are here. Like fans of yours in general, like any message you'd want to like pass along to people that are like following your career and following kind of the stuff that you're doing?
Well, if you're taking the time or the investment in your life to follow what I'm doing, I appreciate you. And I hope it's inspiring you and entertaining you and giving you a diversion in your life. And I mean, that's I love performing of all different types, and so I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy for you to follow it. So
awesome. We'll make sure, like you said, all his socials. We'll put them in descriptions and everything. So follow his work. And like I said earlier, I appreciate you being able to take the time to kind of talk to us for a little bit. And
sure, you bet.
And hopefully we'll get to see you again down the road.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Awesome.